so I'm going to start a few minutes early so we can go over what I'll nicely call the house rules. Thank you so much. We are just so thrilled to have this many people here. You have to understand that these candidates, especially those who haven't done it before, are used to about 6 people attending, besides from their wives and mother-in-laws. So this is good. I'd like to actually welcome all of you very much to the 2012 PBCA Candidates Nights, which, by the way, is our 9th one. And I'm Pat Holleran, and for tonight's purposes, I am the treasurer of the Poquito Bayou Community Association. And we are very happy to have this for you every year. I'd like to introduce Mary Edith Malin is in the back. Wave your hand, Mary Edith. She's our president. And the ladies from Bob Hope Village are the ones who put out all the drinks. And we're grateful to Bob Hope Village, the Air Force Enlisted Village, for allowing us to use this room tonight as well. And we thank the Poquito Bayou baking ladies as well for the refreshments. And the members of PBCA, I'm not going to say Poquito Bayou Community, PBCA is what it is. For the PBCA members who helped put this on. A reminder, PBCA is a nonpartisan organization and neither supports nor endorses any candidate or political party. The program that you see tonight is actually the ballot order. And what we have here is the fact of what we call a universal primary. I've had many questions, and I know Paul Lux, our supervisor, is here tonight. I'm going to let him speak in a minute. But many questions have come up about, say, how come I got a ballot that's got Republicans on it? When there's only candidates of one party, that primary race is open to all registered voters regardless of party. And for county commissioners, we have voting at large. You are allowed to vote for the commissioners on the ballot no matter where you live in the county. So those 2 things. If you have any questions, Paul is going to stay here for a good part of the evening. You can get with him to further clarify anything. The first 2 races are only on the general election ballot, but as we don't have, as well as one of the Commissioner District 1 race, because we do not have another occasion prior to the general election. And the candidates, as I mentioned, will be speaking in ballot order. Each candidate will be allotted 5 minutes total, and 5 minutes only. Standard procedure would be to say you can use the first 2.5 minutes to speak on behalf of your candidacy, and the other 2.5 minutes for questions from the audience. But frankly, you can use the time, your 5 minutes for the candidates. If you want to speak for a minute and allow more questions, and if they're not enough, then you can speak some more. You can basically use what you want, but please allow time for the audience to have questions if they so wish. And the timer we have, Lendy Edwards, right here in the front row, he's very strict, and I'm even more strict than he is, remember. And so please honor the signals to keep on schedule because of the lengthy program. One other thing I wanted to mention to you is I want you all to have the greatest respect for these candidates, regardless of any kind of differences of opinions. These are all very nice people who are looking to serve the public. Some of them are running for the first time, and their ordeal for the first time, I know, has worn a lot of them out. And they are a fine bunch of candidates, I must say. I've spent a lot of time with them. So I do ask you please to show that respect to them. And when you're asking questions, remember, you're using up part of their 5 minutes time. So we're not interested in long commentaries about an editorial you read in the newspaper. Keep your questions very short and specific and very polite. We want everyone to enjoy the evening and leave here with a better understanding of the candidates' positions and qualifications for the jobs for which they're running. Some hints to make this evening just a little bit better. The ladies working at the refreshment tables in the back, are veterans of many of our candidate nights, and they ask, please, to not stand and chat in front of the refreshment table so that they too can see and hear the candidates, if you would. And it also would be good manners to be a quiet and orderly audience in this room, but if you must go out into the lobby, be aware that the conversations and other noise that comes right from the lobby comes right back into this room and is fairly disruptive. If that becomes a problem, I will have the biggest and strongest member of the PDCA escort those persons. You cut me off, right? The biggest and strongest member of PDCA, stand up, biggest and strongest member. Mr. Jerry Rush, and he will escort the offenders to the parking lot, okay? As a backup, I have two shorter deputies right here in front of me. And if not, I'll chase you out, okay? Before we go on with the program, and thank you so much for cooperating with us, because this is already a terrific crowd and we are ahead of schedule. So I'm going to have Mr. Paul, what was your name again? Lux, that's it, yes. Mr. Paul Lux, the Oklahoma County Supervisor of Elections, tell you about early voting.
All right. Well, Pat gave the rest of my speech, so it makes it nice and short, which is good for everybody. Just a few quick notes. If you haven't already discovered it, we had a change in the early voting site. If you didn't see the article in the newspaper. The Reef, which is just up the road, very convenient for most of you in Poquito Bayou, I know. Unfortunately, we have moved over to the Shalimar Annex, so we're in the old jury assembly room in Shalimar, no longer at the Reef. Early voting starts this Saturday, 7 a.m. at the 4 locations: Shalimar Annex, Niceville City Hall, the library in Crestview, and my main office in Crestview. So those are your 4 early voting sites. The hours and everything else are on my website. On the table in the back with all of the other candidate paraphernalia, I have refrigerator magnets in case you need a reminder. I don't think you need a reminder of the August 14th election, but in case you need a reminder of the November 6th election. And then also my website and other information are on there. Your sample ballots should have reached you today. I understand that's not the case. I'm hoping they will get here tomorrow or maybe Saturday. In the interim, I have a limited supply on the back table of just some paper sample ballots, blue for Republican, white for the Democrats, yellow for the nonpartisans. So please avail yourselves while supplies last of the sample ballots off the back table. And like Pat said, I will be around to answer anyone's questions. I don't plan on going home until you guys throw us all out of here tonight, so I'll be around when you need me, and I will turn it back over to whoever. Well, I know they don't want me to keep talking, so I'll turn it back over. There she is. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Paul. Well, thank you again for letting us start. Okay, I guess I have to hold it this way. And we're going to begin, as I said, in ballot order. And a timer, are you awake? Yes. Okay, very good. Our first, this microphone, I'm going to warn everybody. Perhaps this one is a little bit better. Okay, I'll keep the bad one. I'll give this one to the candidates then. Well, they deserve a better microphone. Our first race tonight is for the United States House of Representatives, District 1, and we have 2 candidates who did respond to our letters to all of the candidates. And the first one we'll hear from tonight is Mr. William Drummond, candidate for House District 1. Yes, this water is for candidates as you come up here, okay?
Good evening, how are you all? Glad to hear. My name is William Cleve Drummond II, and I'm currently running as a write-in for District 1 for Congressman. I think it's time that we see a change in Washington. I know each and every one of you cannot be happy with what's going on up there on the Hill. We need to take back our government I want to take and be able to represent you. I don't want to represent special interests. I don't want to represent anyone but the district that votes for me. I should be representing you. When congressmen go up there, they are supposed to be your employee. Now tell me, are you happy enough with your employees that you want to keep them there? Do you want to let them keep changing the rules and making it harder for you and your families to be able to live here? I got mad at Congress, and the very next day I took and signed up to be an active candidate for Congress. And that's why I'm going. I want to make sure that my son and my family and everyone who's in this district has a fair say in what goes in on our business. There's no other way it should be done. Now, if someone would like to ask some questions?
Yes. What's your background?
Say again?
What is your background?
Your background.
I'm a commercial artist. I do calligraphy, sign work, website design, clan crests, not Scottish clan crests, Irish clan crests, heraldry and the like. Yes, sir?
Would you support a constitutional amendment to balance the budget?
Yes, I would support a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. Anyone else?
Do you believe in term limits?
Yes, sir, I do. I think that all our elected officials should have a set amount of time to take and serve us. It's supposed to be a temporary job. They're supposed to go up there, represent our interests, and then come home to the community to work in it and let someone else to go in their place. Thank you. I also have a website. It's drummondforcongress.org, and you can find all the information about me there as well. Now, does anyone else have any questions that they would like to ask?
Just one. Can you identify perhaps your biggest concern and what exactly you're looking to do in just Washington and
First thing, we need to make sure that we get our books in order. We can no longer keep running on red ink. We need to take and make sure that our military is well cared for, and we need to make sure that we're not the police force for the world and keep having to absorb all the cost. If we have to pay billions of dollars to take and support some other country, then that country should be paying that fee to us, not the other way around. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Do you identify yourself with any party at all?
I'm a member of the Reform Party. Ross Perot took and formed the party in 1996. I've been a member of that party ever since. This is the first time that I've been running, and I am writing as a write-in, and it's William Cleve Drummond II. And I do apologize that I seem like I don't have anything prepared, because I don't. I speak from the heart. I speak what I believe in. If I see a problem, I want to take and address that problem, not through meticulous details, but what I know is right. I want, like I said, I want to represent you and your interests. I don't want to see us going down tubes like we are now. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What theory do you have for reducing everything cutting the weights into that cover? There's a tremendous amount of weight, and no one's doing anything about it.
Unfortunately, the majority of the waste is sitting in the congressional room itself. Unless you take and get them to stop spending our money like they do, we're not going to get anywhere. And I've just been informed that that's my time.
Our next candidate is Kalen Fretz, also a candidate for U.S. House District 1 he's a Libertarian.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Kalen Fretz, and I want to be your congressman. My mission is simple: to restore the Constitution. I'm a Christian, a Virginia Tech graduate in computer science. Go Hokies, and a business owner for many years now. I also just got married 2 months ago, so this is a big year for me. What about the incumbent, my opponent, Jeff Miller? He's promoting an agenda that hurts all of us, all of you. He talks like a conservative, but he's voted for well over $5 trillion in new debt since he's come into office. $2 trillion of that this past year alone, more than $2 trillion. That's tens of thousands in new debt for every family in this room. And it's already diminishing your quality of life and the American way. Now, why haven't we heard the voice of reason on the unjust income tax as it is right now? Let's repeal and replace that with a fair tax. We also must pass a balanced budget amendment. And we must prosecute foreclosure fraud and crimes going all the way from Wall Street to the Federal Reserve. Our congressman likes to portray himself as a defender of veterans, but I sincerely ask the veterans in this audience, how many of you fought for more debt, less freedoms, and endless war? Our #1 national security threat is a tanking economy as we borrow 43 cents of every dollar from countries like China. And Jeff Miller has been right there to sign the check every time. He also believes your sacred natural rights are bargaining chips. Just look what he's voted for. To protect Big Pharma from lawsuits even if they harm you. To allow President Obama to lock up American citizens without due process. To allow the TSA to look at and even touch your naked body as a condition of travel. To allow the government to invade your privacy inside your home. Sorry for the mic. He voted for Planned Parenthood funding. He voted for doubling the size of the failed Federal Department of Education. For this, he gets an F. Here's what it comes down to. You will never benefit from being bribed with your own tax dollars. You will never be protected by sacrificing your liberties. And you will never be served by giving more power to politicians and bureaucrats in D.C. Yet that's exactly what Jeff Miller wants you to believe. Don't take my word for it, just look at his record. If you want a true liberty-minded constitutionalist to go to Washington and actually defend your rights and the Constitution, I am your only choice on the ballot. But in order for that to happen, I need your support, whether with your time or money, and I ask for your vote in November. Find more on my website, fretsforcongress.com. Again, I'm Kalen Fretz. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What are your views on term limits for constitutionally elected officials?
I'm for them. Absolutely. Well, I actually like the way Florida does it. For the House members, it's 4 terms, 2 years apiece. For the Senate, it's 2 terms and 4 years apiece. Obviously, that would be slightly different in the Congress because the senators have 6 years. But we definitely need to term limit Congress because those guys stay in there forever and get into the system. So, yes, sir.
What are your local military connections?
Well, as far as local connections, my brother is currently serving in Pakistan. So, you know, I completely understand what the military is going through right now. And, you know, we have to defend veterans. Unfortunately, our current congressman, like I said, portrays himself as a defender of veterans, but he votes for massive debt. And, you know, our veterans are hurt like that just like anybody else. Not to mention, if anybody's aware of the issues with Camp Lejeune, there was poisoned drinking water a few decades ago that injured thousands of Marines and their families, even killed some of them. And the government didn't compensate them for those injuries. And this issue was obviously brought up to Jeff Miller multiple times, and he never acted on it. So if you want someone that's really going to defend veterans, that's going to take real issues into Congress and bring them in front of the American people, I'm your guy. Any more questions? I got about 15 seconds here. Thank you very much. Again, Press for Congress, restore the Constitution.
I think if the candidates will speak into the microphone this way rather than holding it away from their mouth, it'll probably work better. Our next race is State Senate, District 1. This is one of the races that will not be on the primary ballot, but the general election ballot. And we have our first candidate, Don Gates.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here at the inaugural meeting of the Draft Panhandle for Governor Committee. It's amazing what you can do if you provide free food. I don't think this will work, but I grew up on a ranch, so I can talk loud. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. One of the great things about my job as a senator is that I'm not a senator from Washington. I'm a senator from Tallahassee, so that's good. Secondly, let me just mention a couple of things that I've been associated with because people in Northwest Florida have asked me to do it. You know about the recapture rule. Now, don't let your eyes go in the back of your head. But what it means is when property values go up, then your property taxes go up, right? But the recapture rule means if your property values go down, your property taxes still go up. So along with Senator Fasano, I sponsored legislation to repeal the recapture rule so that when your property values go down, you ought to pay less taxes. I think that's important. A second measure which I sponsored, which again people in Northwest Florida asked me to do. Now going forward, illegal aliens for the first time will not be able to get free health care on Medicaid paid for by the taxpayers of Florida. That's over with. Now, we did do some positive things in the budget. I sponsored legislation that provides more money for the services that take care of abused children, like our Children's Advocacy Center. More funding for those services that provide help to the disabled and the elderly. I think that's important. But while we did that, unlike Washington, the senators and representatives in Tallahassee, for the second year in a row, balanced the budget, cut spending by billions of dollars. We're living within our means. We're paying down our debt. And for 2 years in a row, there hasn't been a single increase in taxes or fees from Tallahassee, and I'm very proud of that. Now, there are a lot of things that we can do better. And I'm so grateful that people take the time to call me, to email me, to write me, to come and visit me here in our office in Northwest Florida and in Tallahassee. If I'm re-elected this fall, my colleagues have already designated me to be the next president of the Senate. And what that means is that I'll be able, as the presiding officer of the Senate, and one of the 3 constitutional officers with the Speaker and the Governor governing Florida and setting the agenda, to work hard to make sure that our values here in Okaloosa County and in Northwest Florida are taken to Tallahassee instead of Tallahassee values and Washington values being imposed on us. If we work together, if you'll keep telling me what you think, I promise to keep listening and we'll have a better Florida. Thank you very much. And our tough timekeeper says I have a little time for questions. So please, softly thrown vegetables. The hard questions go to Pat. I'll take the easy ones. Yes?
Hey, John. We think you've done a great job in Tallahassee, but the thing that really concerns me as a business guy, every day in the newspaper I see where grants, the state of Florida, well, all governments, are giving out grants, and as a business guy, you can see, oh my gosh, why are they spending money like the sidewalks and nobody can walk on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on and on. And we, I think, as taxpayers, would love to see, I mean, fish and the birds don't pay for grants, we pay for grants. So we would love to see the waste, total waste. It's been cut back. Governor Scott's done a great job, you've done a great job. But we'd like to see the word grants. That means us, that means we're paying for that money. So we'd love to see something done about the wasteful spending that's called grants.
Well, and there has been, and there will be. We've cut the budget by $6 billion in the last 4 years, and a lot of that has been grants that may go to things that people think are important, but really projects that we as families and as small business people have learned to live without. We've tightened our belts. Government ought to tighten its belt too. So I agree with you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. My time is up. I'm sorry. He just cut me off. But I'll stay afterwards, and if you want to ask me your question, I'll be delighted to answer it. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is candidate for State Senate District 1, Richard Harrison. Is Mr. Harrison here? Has anyone seen Mr. Harrison? Well, if we're going to have an extra few minutes because Mr. Harrison is here, let me say this now. This is probably the very best group of people, audience, we've ever had at this. So thank you for your wonderful, wonderful behavior tonight. I really appreciate it. And the refreshments will stay open all evening, so please help yourself. Okay, Mr. Harrison, thank you for the time. And so we'll move on to the race for public defender. And the first speaker is Bruce Miller.
I'm going to try not to move, so if I look stiff, I'm trying to keep this microphone working. My name's Bruce Miller, and I am running for public defender. And I too want to just comment, our race for public defender goes from Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton counties, and this by far is the biggest group. And I want to thank all the organizers for putting this together, but especially who made those little mint brownies back there. Just don't eat them before you come up to talk. I'm going to tell you quickly a little bit about myself and then a little bit about why I'm running for the office, because I think the issues in our race is, number one, is who is Bruce Miller, and number two is what is the record of my opponent. I'm 56 years old. I live in Pensacola. I have an office in Shalimar. I haven't always been an attorney. I graduated from Purdue University in 1980. And instead of going straight to law school, I joined a couple of my older brothers who were already in business and kind enough to let me jump on board with them. I spent 11 years doing that. We had 3 franchise donut shops, and I can tell you that you learn things in business, and I know there's a lot of business people here because I spoke with you. You learn things in business that you don't learn in school. You don't learn it in an undergraduate degree, and you don't learn it with a law school degree, that's for sure. You learn work ethic, because if you don't have it, don't expect anybody that works for you to have one either. You learn vision, and if you have to have a plan for where this thing's going, because if you don't, nobody else will. And you learn people skills and all the little other skills like how to work, manage, and rescue a budget when it gets in trouble. I went off to law school at the age of 35, graduated when I was 38, spent 3 years in private practice where I did a little bit of everything, commercial law, family law, very little personal injury, wrote a lot of wills, did some probate and estate planning, very little criminal law, but in 1997 I found the public defender's office and went to work for Jack Bear, who was our public defender for 32 years unopposed. And that's why some people say, we vote for public defender? It's because we didn't have an election for so long. He endorses me for my campaign for public defender. I know the office. I was there 12 years. I left on his last day. I resigned. I've done everything in the office from misdemeanors, juveniles. I carried a full felony caseload for 10 years and handled all kinds of cases. I know that the public defender's office is one of those offices, it's not visible. You don't see what's going on in the office, and unless you work in the system, you probably know very little about it. That's why I'm proud to say that I'm endorsed by Jack Bear, who was our public defender for 32 years. I'm endorsed in Okaloosa County by the 5 past presidents of the Okaloosa-Walton Bar Association, numerous former state attorneys, numerous former public defenders, and the Pensacola News Journal, United Christians of Florida, Emerald Shores Connection, and the Pensacola Realtors Association, the civic and professional organizations, and I'm very proud of my endorsements. One of the issues in this campaign is the budget. And I'm aware that when I stand in front of this group or any other group, that I'm asking you to vote for me, and I'm asking you to trust me, and I need to give you correct information. The budget, I know my opponent is making claims that he has saved you money, but the numbers we have received from the Florida Public Defenders Association says in fiscal year 08 to 09, and my opponent took office in January of 09, the cases that the office handled were 39,500. Total expenditures were $8.5 million. It's gone up to 8.9 million, and the cases have dropped to 34,000. That means you are paying 33% more to handle one single case than when my opponent took office. So I'm asking you to restore common sense, responsibility, along with accountability back to the office. Thank you. Apparently I used my whole time. Thank you.
We ran out of time. You can speak with him after, probably quietly. Our next speaker is James Owens.
Good evening. I'm James Owens, your elected public defender. Won election in 2008 on a promise that I would run a more efficient public defender's office. I've kept my promise. Over the last 3.5 years, we have saved $2.9 million tax dollars from general revenue. Our collections for clients, we have collected and helped collect $2.5 million, further saving tax dollars. We have, in addition, cut wasteful spending, reducing payroll by $200,000. At the same time, we continued to provide the services that we are constitutionally required to do. As you may know, it covers the 4 counties, Scandia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton. And people are charged with crimes, they come to court. If they cannot afford a lawyer, they are appointed to the public defender's office. That ends up being about 80% of the people that are charged with crimes. This year was 35,000 cases. Last year, I think it was 39,000 cases. The year before that, it was 41,000 cases. That number fluctuates depending on the sheriff and how many arrests they make in each county. We cannot control that. So the cost per case does fluctuate to some degree depending on the number of arrests. I'm happy to report that we continue to do the job with less tax dollars. That is the record that we stand by, what we promised and what we delivered. I am proud that I'm endorsed by Colonel George Bud Day and his wife Doris. It's an honor and a privilege to be endorsed by those two. I do need to tell you a little bit about my opponent. We have learned that in 2008, my opponent failed to vote for President of the United States. He failed to vote twice, in the Republican primary in August of 2008 and in the general election in November of 2008. Sheriff, county commission, tax collector, all the local important races. In addition, public defender's office. The seat he now wishes to hold. On a personal note, it's my privilege to be here. I was born and raised here in Northwest Florida. I'm raising my family here, my wife Jenny and our 3 children. We love Northwest Florida. We believe we've done a good job. We take young lawyers just out of law school who are starting their careers, who want some trial experience. We train them how to be good trial lawyers, and they move on into private practice. It's a difficult job, but it's a challenging job for young lawyers to learn how to handle a lot of cases at one time and learn how to try a case in front of a judge and in front of a jury. It's rewarding for me to see inexperienced young lawyers turn into good trial lawyers. That's what we do, at the same time saving tax dollars, at the same time providing our clients under the Sixth Amendment with a right to counsel. Thank you. I've got some time for questions. Yes, sir.
When you say 35 to 40,000 cases, is that the number of cases, total number of cases, or the number of cases that require a public defender?
That's the number that we actually handle in the 4 counties. Now, it involves juvenile cases, it involves misdemeanor cases, it involves felony cases, and it involves involuntary commitment cases where a family has committed a loved one because of their mental state. They may be in danger of harming themselves or someone else. So that's the total of all those cases together.
That require a public defender?
Correct. Correct. Colonel?
Mr. Ron, I'm not that. I see your opponent claims that you would promise you would carry a caseload. And he says you didn't do that. That's not true, is it?
No, it's not. I've actually tried 12 jury trials over the course of the last 4 years, in addition to managing the caseload, and that's unheard of in the state. We have 20 elected public defenders, and none of the other 19 public defenders have actually tried a case at the same time as managing the office. That's one of the things that I promised, and I have delivered on. I've got about 15 seconds. Beautiful location. Thank you so much for inviting me, and y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
Next, we'll turn to the sheriff's race, and the first speaker will be Larry Ashley.
Good evening. I'm Sheriff Larry Ashley, and I want to thank you all for coming out and being involved in local politics. It's important that we decide who our leaders are going to be and what you base that decision off of. I've been working at your sheriff's office for almost a quarter of a century. I'm the only candidate in this race that actually has ever worked at a sheriff's office. I have been your sheriff for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I worked under 3 different sheriffs and have managed every division within the sheriff's office. I've worked as a patrol officer, a canine officer, a street crimes officer. I worked as a major crimes investigator. I worked as a captain in field services, a major over our criminal investigations division, a major over our support services, a major over our administrative services before becoming chief deputy. I was elected 2 years ago as the first sheriff within the ranks, coming from within the ranks of Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. And I think that's why we've been so efficient, because of that. Because I know the constitutional and legal obligations of your sheriff's office. I know the people that work at the sheriff's office and the processes that are efficient and those that need required additional efficiencies. We have one of the lowest per capita costs in law enforcement, not just in Florida, but in the country, at $143 per capita. Anybody know how we get per capita? Well, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. You take your budget and you divide it by your population. And that's, you divide it per population, per person, how much does it cost you for law enforcement services in Okaloosa County? And it's about $143. We have 1.4 officers per 1,000 citizens. That's one of the lowest officer per 1,000 ratios in the entire nation. We're already doing it at 55% less in cost, and we're doing it at 37% less than officers for a population of 100 to 250,000 people. That's pretty incredible to me. So my point in saying these things are, what is local government's primary responsibility? I've asked that on the campaign trail. Is it water and sewer? Is it parks and recreation? Is it libraries and museums? Is it the road department? Is it firefighters? Is it law enforcement? What is government's primary responsibility? And I believe every survey that the county's done, cities have done, that our campaigns have done, the citizens have told us that public safety is the #1 priority of local governments. And national defense is the #1 priority of the federal government. And so we have to come back to ourselves and say, what is it that we expect from our government and what priorities are we asking to place on our budgets? When we can afford to increase our reserve while sending deputies home, I think our budget priorities are confused. We have unfortunately, one of the highest assault rates on officers, 9% above the national average on officers assaulted. We had over 50 officers assaulted last year. We've got a 1,086 square mile county. That's a big county. It's the size of some states. 190,000 permanent residents. You got 500,000 visitors. I just saw an article in the paper last week that 35,000 people or close to it went across Mid-Bay Bridge in a single weekend. That's a lot of people piling into our community. And when you pile that many people into it and you don't have the law enforcement services, had a 13% increase in calls for service over the last 3 years, 13%, which results in you have less resources to deal with more calls for service. We had a 25% increase in violent crime, 25% increase in violent crime, while the state of Florida enjoys a 40-year low. Are we putting the priorities we need in public safety? As your sheriff, I'll continue to fight for the need to fund public safety first and everything else second, because I believe that's the #1 priority. I graduated from the University of Southern Mississippi with a BS degree in criminal justice. I have a master's degree in public administration. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy, and I know your law enforcement community, and I'll open it up for questions for you now. Well, thank you so much for letting me come with you tonight, and please, August 14th or August 4th, if you desire early voting, Larry Ashley for sheriff. Thank you.
Our next candidate for sheriff is Sheridan Lowry.
Thank you so much, Pat. Good evening, everyone. Who in the House tonight has served honorably in our U.S. military, either as an active duty member, or retired, or a spouse, or a child? There you go. You wonder why crime costs so little in Okaloosa County? It's because of you guys and your families. It's because of you and your families. That's why the cost of law enforcement in Okaloosa County is so low. Many of you took an oath to serve, to defend, and protect this nation from enemies both foreign and domestic. When you discharged from the military, you didn't bifurcate that oath. You still maintain that oath, and you maintain that oath today. And as such, that is the reason that we have control of crime. What we don't have control of is public corruption, because you don't have a voice in that many times. And that's been the black eye of Okaloosa County, public corruption. We've heard a lot of things during this race. Many of you have seen me for the first time tonight and have not seen me during the campaign trail. But as such, those who have not seen me, it's intentional because I have always flown below the radar. As a candidate for your Okaloosa County Sheriff, I do not come from the law enforcement business, or as Sheriff Andy Taylor used to call it, the sheriffing business. I come from the private sector. I bring to your sheriff's office, if you elect me, the talents and gifts that have been afforded me by God in my business career. 23 and a half years as a licensed professional businessman, professionally licensed in about 6 different areas. Been through more FBI and FDLE background checks than Carter has liver pills. So let me tell you that I'm a cowboy from Montgomery, Alabama. I moved down here in the late 90s, and I'm asking to be your sheriff because, like many of us, we don't get involved in politics until something affects our family. And so there's been a lot of comments about a businessman running for sheriff and that is not a qualified candidate. So what I'd submit to you is to go and look at the record, because you elected in the 80s a sheriff here named Larry Gilbert, who was a banker, came from the banking business. I don't come from the banking business, by the way. But as such, it was a civilian who was hired by you, the citizens, to be your sheriff. That civilian election kept in mind Article number 1, Section 7 of the Florida Constitution that says, all military power shall be subordinate to the civil authority. Why does your Constitution say that? It's because the forefathers of this great state and of our U.S. nation understood that civilians were the safeguard of out-of-control government. And so, what I'm asking for is your vote to get to know me.
call me. I have a couple of websites, SheridanForSheriff.com and OkaloosaElection.com. Many of you have seen newspaper articles about me being arrested 2 weeks ago. Well, what you may not have saw also is that the judge that issued that order to have me arrested violated the U.S. Constitution, the Florida Constitution, and then got caught with his drawers down and had to go put on some big boy Pampers when my attorney showed up from Tallahassee. So those charges, it wasn't charges, it was an order to take me into custody to determine if I was in contempt of court. So anyway, the judge had to then clear it up, and of course that action was dismissed over in Pensacola. But there's many things that go on in our government that are violations every day of your constitutional rights. You're not going to find a more strict constitutionalist than I am. I will protect you and defend you. 70% of this population are you guys, the people and their families that serve this nation. I'm asking for the opportunity to return the service that you provided, to protect your children, to protect the elderly, and to protect the citizens. When you talk about 1,082 square miles, we are the largest landmass of military service. Your sheriff's department doesn't even patrol Eglin Air Force Base. Don't be fooled by the numbers. They all sound good, but it's skewing and it's statistics. Don't ever forget that. On August 14th, you have a choice to ask someone who's never been convicted of a crime to be your constitutional sheriff. I will do just that. With the last remaining seconds, any questions? Anyone? Thank you so much. Okaloosa election, easy to remember. If you're going to vote in the Okaloosa election, you need to go to OkaloosaElection.com. And the other website is Sheridan for Sheriff. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I ask for your vote on August 14th.
And our next candidate is Steve Menschel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Steve Menschel, and I am a candidate for sheriff. I hope you know that by now. To start off with, how many, we raised our hands about veterans. I'm a proud veteran also, and I'll tell you a story and tell you a little bit about my career. Way back when, my draft number was 2. And I said, you know what, instead of being drafted, I better join the military. So I joined the military, and I was in the U.S. Army as a military police officer. And while I was in that particular assignment, U.S. Secret Service came to the Army, and I was drafted to go to the White House, and I'll travel with President Nixon for 3 years during my military tour. Very, very lucky to have that assignment. At the end of that assignment, I started looking around for a federal job, and I identified U.S. Customs. Doesn't exist anymore. It's now Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But most people, when you think about customs, you think about the folks at the airport who check your suitcases coming back from a foreign trip. You don't realize they're criminal investigators. For 33 years, I was with U.S. Customs, and I was very glad that I can say that I supervised at one time or another in Customs Service every component of U.S. Customs with the exception of the Air Branch. Director of the Intelligence Division, I headed up the Undercover Operations Division, and after 9/11, I got an assignment that I could only dream for. I got selected to go to headquarters, and I actually was the Deputy Director of Covert Operations in Washington, where I managed every undercover operation worldwide, and I was responsible for a $100 million budget. My wife and I had dreamed of retiring in Destin, and we had property here, and our dream was ultimately, obviously realized by moving here. But we were in Washington. I got a phone call one day from Homeland Security, and they said, we're starting Homeland Security, and we need senior managers. We can't promote from within, so we need to dangle a carrot. Well, they dangled a financial carrot that I couldn't pass up, and I ended up going to Houston for my last 5 years in government service. So after 38 years, we retired here. I want to take a few seconds and read something, and I'm not usually an I person, but I think you understand this when I'm finished. As a law enforcement officer and senior executive manager, I know that there is no I in the word team or we. Today, however, I'll use the word I many times to contrast the difference between myself and the other candidates running for sheriff. I am the only candidate that is a veteran, was a federal agent for 38 years, managed a $100 million budget. I managed the state and local overtime system slot for all local, county, and state law enforcement agencies that work jointly with federal agencies. I wrote the concept paper and initiated the Blue Lightning Task Force operation, which is a joint federal, local, and state task force operation involving narcotic smuggling and the transportation of money from drug sales. I was the Deputy Director of U.S. Customs Covert Operations Division and was responsible for all undercover operations worldwide. I supervised investigations that were international in scope and sensitive in nature, involving the following: terrorism, trading with the enemy, child pornography, fraud, gangs, automobile and heavy machinery theft, copyright violations, counterfeit goods, arms export violations, money laundering, asset forfeitures, narcotic smuggling, general smuggling into and out of the United States, illegal aliens, human trafficking, politicians, and law enforcement officers. I initiated and worked undercover to obtain evidence against my supervisor in U.S. Customs, who was paid to allow drugs to be smuggled into the United States. I initiated and personally worked an investigation which at the time was the largest narcotics smuggling, money laundering, and murder case the U.S. Air Force OSI had ever initiated. The case involved a U.S. Air Force security police officer supervisor that was being paid by Manuel Noriega to allow drugs to be smuggled out of Howard Air Force Base, Panama, on board Air Force planes to the United States. I was selected to head up the Iraqi task force in support of Operation Desert Storm. Much of this is classified but deals with the investigative support federal agencies provided to the DoD during Desert Storm. I testified before the Classified Pickle Committee as a result of that assignment. I worked undercover on numerous investigations involving national security, which prevented the illegal sale and export of Stinger missiles to enemies of the United States. I worked in cities throughout the nation with local and county officials, giving me a knowledge base beyond Okaloosa County. A few examples include working with the Los Angeles Police Department Community Response Team, Crash Unit, the New York City Police Department Intelligence Division, the New Jersey State Police Auto Theft Task Force, Miami Metro-Dade Auto Theft Task Force, El Paso, Texas SWAT Team, Houston Police Department SWAT Team, and the Houston Independent School District. I've personally seized tons of marijuana and cocaine. I'm running out of time, unfortunately. I must have talked kind of slow. I'd ask you to pick up one of these blue cards in the back. I'm sorry, I couldn't finish. Pick up one of these blue cards. I would like to tell you that I offer a different perspective, and I hope you consider me on August the 14th. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have Tony Taylor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that it's the way you hold your mouth with this mic, so I'm going to try to hold it right tonight. I am Tony Taylor. I am a Republican candidate for Okaloosa County Sheriff. I came to Okaloosa County in 1970, over 40 years ago. I only left for a short period with my father in the Air Force. We went to Laughlin Air Force Base and then came back here. My dad is currently in San Antonio. He's a Baptist minister. He started out with the Bible Baptist Church in Destin. He was called to San Antonio. When he left, I told him, sorry, Dad, I got sand in my shoes, I can't go. I've worked for the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for over 35 years. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy. I'm an accomplished accreditation manager. I've raised 3 children to adulthood in this county who were all born here in the county. I have 3 grandchildren, all born here in Okaloosa County. To learn a lot more about my background or on my personal life, please visit my website, TonyRTaylorForSheriff.com. I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple of the issues tonight, the crime rates in Okaloosa County. In the last 2 years, the violent crime rate in Okaloosa County has risen over 43%. Arrests are down almost 2,000 since 2008, and our clearance rates are falling. It's not due to the economy. We can't blame cast and say that the economy is. To say that is to say that the economy is affecting only Okaloosa County. It's not. The state of Florida is enjoying a 41-year low in crime, okay? Everybody around us, statistics are going down. We're going up. We're trending in the wrong direction, ladies and gentlemen. Talk to you in just a minute about your budget, the Sheriff's Department budget. How many of you has actually examined what was proposed to the County Commissioner's Sheriff's Department budget? I have. And I have a lot more questions than I have answers. There's no math involved in it. There's a broad category out there that says this much money in the budget. It's not transparency. Transparency is a detailed line item budget that I'm used to doing for the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. I will tell you how many arm patches I'm going to buy, how many uniform shirts, how many duty belts, and things like that. Now, the budgets always don't work out the way that you anticipate them to do that. However, as technology allows in real time, you will see, as a sheriff, I will post to you how the money is being budgeted, how it's being spent. The county commissioners and you as citizens will be able to see that right up front. Statutory is fine. Statutory doesn't require a detailed line item budget. But I think you deserve it as a taxpayer of Okaloosa County because it's your money. It's not my money. The corruption in Okaloosa County has reached an all-time high. I think we can all agree on that. It's an international embarrassment of what's been going on here the last few years in Okaloosa County. Mumbai, India has written stories in their newspaper about Okaloosa County corruption. South Florida newspapers have said, don't look to South Florida for corruption anymore. Look to Okaloosa County, Florida. The British News has published articles about the corruption in Okaloosa County. It's an international embarrassment. We don't have a proactive stance or a proactive approach to vetting out corruption in our community. We have a reactive approach. We sit around, we wait for it to happen, and then we act like we're doing something about it. I want to bring a proactive approach by bringing in an anti-corruption and white-collar crime investigative unit that will actually go after, will look at and accept all your phone calls, and they'll vet this corruption out of our community. We have to close it out. We have to get rid of it. And the only way to do that is to get rid of the corruption culture. I want to thank you for providing this opportunity for us tonight. Your presence here tonight tells me that you are interested in what's going on in your community. You are here to decide, to hear the candidates talk about the issues that are important to you. We have a candidate comparison for the sheriff's race on the back table. I passed out a lot of copies of those. On the back of most of those, you'll find what I told you tonight, that Florida Department of Statistics, law enforcement statistics that tell you that our crime rates our violent crime rates are going up and clearance rates and arrests are coming down. I didn't make this up. You can go out and look at the FDLE website yourself. Our paradise has been invaded by a level of corruption that we've never seen before, and we've got to take action and do something about it now, proactive. In closing, I'm running out of time here. I'll be around after this is over tonight so you can ask me some questions. I anticipated allowing you to ask me questions tonight, but I've been in this community for over 40 years. I've been with the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. I've been a public servant in this community for over 40 years. What Okaloosa County needs right now is a cop, a professional cop. I've been an accreditation manager, and I know professional standards. And interestingly enough, there's only 2 people in this race that are qualified and certified to be law enforcement officers of the state of Florida, myself and the incumbent sheriff. I'll be hanging around. Please come talk.
Thank you. Now we switch to the tax collector's race, and our first candidate is Ben Anderson.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ben Anderson. I am your tax collector. Listen, I'm going to try to squeeze a year into 3 minutes because I want to hear from you. I want you to have time to ask me questions. Here's what I want to share with you. 4 things. I want to tell you about reducing cost in government. I want to share with you governments working together to do good things on your behalf. I want to tell you where government needs to go and how we're operating successful, and then I want to tell you where we need to take it further together. First of all, I came in a year ago. Governor Scott appointed me. We had a forensic audit, and the first thing we did is we took 7 weeks to reorganize this office, and then we went to work. And boy, we went to work. We have it moving forward in a positive direction, and success is coming. Let me tell you something I found out when I got here to this job. You can take the local business tax. Well, I guess we've all heard of that. It used to be called an occupational license. You know what I found out? I didn't have one. And I've been operating a business in this county for 38 years and didn't have one. Well, the first thing I did is I bought one. I bought 2. I had 2 businesses. Now I'm not doing those businesses, but I still have those licenses. But here's what I found. It was a very complicated system, and it was time to simplify government. We had a local business tax guideline that had medicine shows in it. Isn't that ridiculous? So we simplified it. We put a proposal to the county commission, and it's working. They appointed an equity study commission, and they're going to come forward with a proposal for 1 business tax that covers everyone for $35. That's governments working together. We will continue going forward on your behalf. Our office is operating very successfully. We're bringing technology. Truthfully, we're knocking the socks off technology with what it'll do for you. You can do business with us online, not inline, in your pajamas, and give us a check, and we don't charge you. They used to, but we don't now. Eliminating fees that cost you money. And now the success story. Last November, we issued $190 million in tax to you. And I'm proud to tell you, in June, we've collected all of the receivable funds except $4,000. We are doing the job, and we're doing it well, and we will continue to do that for you. Now, finally, the last thing that I want to share with you. In May, I think we were all shocked, absolutely disgusted by the TDC and the absolute waste of money in the TDC. I was. That is not right. That's not what we need. We must go forward with better checks and balances in government. We need other government offices looking at other government offices. We need to work together with greater oversight in this community because it is your money. It's your tax money that should be bringing economic impact and at lower cost to you. I put a proposal together that very simply said, let the tax collector collect the bed tax. And guess what? It was slammed and rejected. I will continue to go forward on your voice and ask for checks and balances in government, ask for greater oversight, and I will be accountable not to other government entities, but I'll be accountable to you, the citizens. I am Ben Anderson. I do ask you for your vote. Start this Saturday in early voting, and let's end it on August 14th and put me back in office, and I'll keep speaking for you. I'll look for checks and balances, and we will reduce the cost of government, but will not waste your money. Do I have time for questions? Great. I need to hear from you. Somebody has a question for me. There we go, right here. Well, that's a question that I did not understand. The question is, why does the TDC, it's really not the TDC, it's the Board of County Commissioners, not want me to collect bed tax? Well, you know, I think that's a question they have to justify and answer. I will tell you that my proposal allows me to collect the tax just as we do with the ad valorem tax. We receive the money, we account for the money, and it's your money, and then we deliver it to the taxing authorities. Again, I say, let the tax collector collect the tax, let the clerk run the courts. There's another question here. I've got about 15 seconds. I tell you, it has been a wonderful year. The governor gave me the opportunity to serve you, and I want to continue serving you. My phone is open to you. It's an open door policy, and I will continue to represent you at saving money. Thank you very much.
Our next candidate then is Bill Roberts.
First of all, let me thank the Poquito Bio Community Association for hosting this. This is probably our 15th or 16th forum. We've never had this kind of crowd, and we appreciate the time to come and talk. And, you know, I had some nice things to say tonight, but let me just start from what I feel in my heart. This has been a tough campaign. It's been a campaign that I didn't want to run because I've been defending myself through the attacks from my opponent. Tonight is a perfect example. He's spinning the truth, folks, I'll be honest with you. The reason he talked about his business tax receipt and hadn't had an occupational license is because I called his office today. I talked to Josh Allen, the person who is in charge of business tax receipts. I said, Josh, I look at my old business tax receipts and I see the paid history from 2011 back to 2003. But on Mr. Anderson's, all I see is that he's paid in 2012. I said, can I find the paid record where he's paid in the past? He said, Mr. Roberts, there's no record. And I said, there's no record because you didn't keep a record? He said, no, sir. I said, there's no record because he didn't buy his occupational license? I said, yes, sir. So here's a letter he sent out on taxpayer dollars from the tax collector's office talking about, praising himself about all the efforts for putting together this equity commission and simplifying government. Now let me ask you a question. The person in charge of collecting that tax, shouldn't you be the person paying your own tax? I think so. I think so. When you ask a question about
Why didn't the Board of County Commissioners endorse a tax collector collecting those taxes? For 20-something years, the clerk of the court has been collecting those taxes. And the reason the clerk's been doing it is because in the 90s, when the TDC was started, the tax collector said he didn't want to collect them. Now, when Mr. Anderson came to the board and put all his facts on the table, and Mr. Howard was there, the clerk of the court, he addressed each issue. He told Mr. Anderson, the software you're talking about, we've had since 1995. He said, we've never had a problem with collections. He even stated that Mr. Anderson stated to me that his revenues are down 18%. He said he stated that 3 times, and this is what this was about. When you talk about collecting $12 million with a 3% commission, I think that will help your revenues. I think where he needs to start with his revenues is being more efficient in his office and doing what we've done as commissioners the last 4 years. We haven't given raises to our employees the last 4 years. We received his budget today. Over 75% of his employees are going to get a raise this year. All the other constitutional officers have agreed with us years ago, if the Board of County Commissioners don't give raises to their employees, they won't either. He's the first one that I can remember in 10 years to go against that policy. Folks, I'm telling you, I've been in public service for 18 years. 8 years ago, I received $1 a year as city councilman and mayor for Walton Beach. And he's got the audacity to call me a career politician. I'm a career volunteer. I'm a career public servant. He labels me as a good old boy. If you think my involvement, all my adult life in our community, involvement in our chamber, coaching Little League, being president of the YMCA or the All Sports Association, labels me as a good old boy, then I'll wear that moniker with pride. I promise you, I'm in it for the right reasons. I don't have an agenda. I don't play the game, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. The special interests he knows of have made the attacking robocalls on me. I've seen the hurt in my wife's face. I don't appreciate it being, and I will not forgive you for that. But folks, don't let him spin the truth. I'm telling you like it is. I'm Bill Roberts, and I would love to have the opportunity to work with you come August 14th. Thank you.
Our next race will be for superintendent of schools, and the first candidate will be Mary Beth Jackson.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you so much for hosting this event. The first thing I want to say to you is about my service to the community. My husband and I have both lived here all our lives. Our 5 children were raised here and went to school in Okaloosa County, and thank goodness they're all through college and graduate school, and we are done, and we actually have money to buy gas and beans now. I wanted to explain my position of no new taxes because I think that's very important. I know the superintendent cannot levy taxes. I was a government teacher, I better know that. And I can tell you that beginning in 2010, I heard the stirrings of this half-cent sales tax. It was coming out of our administration in the district office, and I began to watch that little process take place. Then on April 26, 2010, our superintendent, the incumbent, presented to the school board and recommended for approval that a half-cent sales tax go on the ballot in November of 2010. I opposed it then. I oppose it now. We do not need more money right now. We need better management, and that is my promise to you. Thank you. I want to talk to you about something else today. I want to talk to you about keeping your word. You know, Senator Gates, where I come from on the farm, I've seen men trade hundreds of acres of land on a handshake. It's important, keeping your word. I will not ask for your opinion on an issue like the school calendar and not listen to you. If I ask you, I will listen and I will keep my word. I will not close a school with 388 students in it, spend $500,000 renovating another school to send them to, and then 2 years later, open up the same school for 88 children. If I close a school, you have my word that I'm not going to turn around and open it up in 2 years. If I promise your children the best in Okaloosa County, I will not subject them to what our students were subjected to with the end-of-course exams this year. Those exams had nothing to do with rigor or complexity. As one school board member said to me, those exams are laughable. They were so ridiculous. And we wasted $60,000 on those exams. And all of the scores that did not lower a student, if the score lowered the student's end of the year letter grade, those scores were all thrown out, wasted money. If I promise to spend your dollars wisely, I promise you, there will not be any support people in our district office who serve as office managers or secretaries that are making $74,000 a year plus benefits. That is not wise use of your tax dollars. If I promise you safety in our schools, I will not selectively choose 2 schools in our school district and say they don't deserve a school resource officer. If I promise you safety, I promise you safety for every child in this school district. I will keep my word. I will keep my word. And I am Mary Beth Jackson. I would love the opportunity to serve you as your school superintendent. Thank you. I have new trifocals. I think someone's raising their hand back now.
I have a question about special education children. The students that went to special education at Longwood Elementary were getting 10 spelling lessons and arithmetic homework a week. They are now going into the 8th grade at Meg's Middle School, and they are getting 3 spelling words a week and no homework for arithmetic. It is terrible. They are brighter than that. There are some that are severely handicapped, but there are those who have minor problems who are qualified to be in that class. They are lost, absolutely lost.
My time is up. I'm sorry. Thank you. You can address her. Thank you.
We're not on break yet, but we are ahead of time, so we may do that. Our next candidate is Alexis Tibbetts.
I would also like to thank the PDCA for having us tonight, and as many others have said, we have many things to talk about tonight. I'd like to tell you a little bit myself. I am from Shalimar, and I've taught many of your kids. I was at Meg's. Tonight's a big night for me. It's my almost 40 wedding anniversary, and my 12-week-old grandbaby just showed up in town, so I'm going to be brief, and I'm proud to have my daughter here tonight with me. But let me just tell you quickly that there are many things that you have heard through this campaign that have a great deal of spin. Number one, our calendar is determined by a calendar committee. You simply must understand that I don't operate, nor does any superintendent, as an island, isolated unto myself. On one hand, people may say, Alexis, I'm opposing you because you don't listen. On the other hand, when we listen, then we're talked about for doing what our constituents need and want in terms of, for example, putting a sales tax. As Mr. Gates can tell you, as Senator Gates can tell you, the state legislators allowed us to place from a parent initiative on a referendum for a vote to increase sales tax for the capital funding that we lost when the quarter mill shifted to operational. I can promise you, I listen to my constituents, but nothing goes on a school board agenda that's not recommended by me or someone on my staff. It can't get to the board unless we recommend it. In other words, that's a procedure and a policy that has to be done if you're listening to your constituents. Our parents asked for it. They came to me and wanted the referendum. I asked the board to approve it. They did, and it was the right thing to do if you listen to your constituents. As far as I'm concerned, the end-of-course exams are something that has really been blown out of proportion. They're required by state law in every subject. We're required to have a third-party vendor look at them. We have had 17 meetings with our teachers in the last 3 weeks. One question has been eliminated from one exam. They were quality exams, and they have increased the rigor, and only 3,000 students were affected when we allowed the students who were affected in a negative way to have their grades changed. There's been a lot of spin on that story. I also want to let you know that salaries are negotiated in our school district. I don't set salaries, the board approves them, but the negotiations have to go on with the union. Now, my opponent is being strongly backed by the union. I have to tell you, I love my teachers. I would love for them to get a raise, but they've had a raise for 12 straight years. It would have put our district in financial emergency to give them a raise this year. They deserve it, but we cannot give in to the demands of the union just because they want it. A $2.5 million raise could not have been done this year. The only reason we did it the last 4 or 5 years is because we closed a school every year. Tough decisions, hard for me to do that, but we had to do it to keep our budget balanced. Closing Valpy Elementary will still see a $1.1 million savings every year because the school was closed. It will not be reopened with the full complement of administrators, guidance counselors, media specialists, but I'll tell you what it will do. We'll have 89 kids more ready for STEM careers, science, technology, engineering, and math that are so important to this nation and our national defense. And next year we'll have 160 kids there, and the next year we'll have 240. And I appreciate the help from Senator Gates to get that school open. That is critical for our nation. Finally, I want to tell you that we have the highest ACT scores in the state of Florida. We have the lowest dropout rate. That means our college and career-ready kids are getting there because the ACT is the college boards kids take to get into college. The lowest dropout rate means our most at-risk kids are being serviced better than any other district is doing it in the state of Florida. We have been named an A+ district every year since Mr. Gates and I have been superintendents, and we have had districts named in grading. I'm going to have to ask for questions now. I ask for your vote on August 14th. I will ensure every single child gets a quality education in this school district. I love you, and I am committed to doing a good job for the kids in this school district. Any questions?
Oh, your time is up.
Ma'am, I couldn't hear it. I was way
Wendy,
over
is the
here.
timer?
It has to do with,
I'm sorry.
it has to do with special education children at Longwood.
Okay, and I will give you my card, and I will ask you to call me about that. Thanks again, August 14th. God bless you. Have a great night.
The next race is for County Commission District 1, and again, this is the race that will be on the general election ballot. Our first candidate is Ronald Connor. Excuse me.
Good evening. Good evening. I am Ron Connor, the Democratic candidate for County Commissioner District 1. Some of you may remember when I unsuccessfully appeared here in the same quest 4 years ago. I was really impressed, not just by the ambience, but the realization that so many of you had husbands who had served in combat in Southeast Asia or elsewhere. I had also volunteered for action, flying jet fighters off of Navy carriers on 3 combat deployments to Vietnam. I salute your husbands, and I take my hat off to those of you who endured on the home front. I bring 2 necessary qualities to the campaign: integrity and smarts. My platform and biography are contained in my low-budget flyers. I'll answer any questions you have now. On with the show. Thank you. Hope to see you on the November ballot.
Our next candidate is Wayne Harris. Oh,
stuck up in the wrong direction. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for inviting us. My name is Wayne Harris. I'm a retired Air Force veteran, 27 years. I retired as a senior master sergeant. My best job in the world of all was my last 12 years, which was as a first sergeant. My last squadron was 3,000 people, and I will bring that to my grave. That's the best thing I've ever done in my life. I'm married to my best friend, Pat Noser, because he always says I married up, and I did marry up, Suzanne Paula Chaussee Harris. We have 3 children. I have 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. I'm very proud of that. I've been on the commission for 4 years, almost 4 years now, and I'm very proud of my record, my voting record. I voted against every pay raise, against every increase or decrease in co-pays for employees, against any increases in your water rates or anything else. My belief is right now people are hurting, and the most important time is not to raise any bills or any ad valorem taxes or anything that will cost you money. We have to live on a budget. That means we have to tighten our belt, as Senator Gates said earlier. So rather than going in on a little longer and asking for questions, I'd rather answer your questions than run my mouth. Questions, please. I know there's some out there. Yes, sir.
We've done an experimental trash collection system in our area where we have these large containers, and instead of having 2 pickups a week, we would have 1 a week. And I think it's good. I like the program. But I do think any rate savings, cost savings should also be passed on at least partially to the consumer.
I agree with you 100%. In fact, you're getting 25% less service. You'll have a 25% reduction in your rates. I believe firmly in that. If there's any savings, it will be returned back to the people that are paying it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, are you doing anything about it in the county commission?
Well, it's going through right now we're not ready to vote on it. It's going through a test program, which I voted against, by the way. It's going through the test program right now, and I believe it comes before us at the end of August or the first part of September. What I just told you is what I'm voting against. If it doesn't have a correlated reduction in your rates, then I won't vote for it. If you're getting 25% less service, you're going to be paying 25% less. That's my belief. If you go and buy a car and you're getting 25% less car, you shouldn't be paying the full amount on it. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live, and do you have a local church affiliation?
Yes, ma'am. I live in Crestview, which is my district, and I belong to Our Lady of Victory Catholic Church. And I've been in that church since I've been here, which is 18. I retired in 1993. I've had a number of businesses, and I work for the Chamber of Commerce in Crestview right now. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
How did you vote for whether the clerk of courts or the tax collector?
I'm glad you asked that, because that's a question that everybody, we all voted for the same thing, which is no. And here's why. Here's why I voted against it right now. One of the things, if you remember what I asked for, I'm sorry? Oh, the question was, how did I vote for the tax collector versus the clerk of courts? Did y'all hear that? Okay. 2 things that I asked. First of all, it wasn't a collection, the tax collector or the clerk of courts, it wasn't a collection problem. It was a spending problem. And we own the responsibility of that. County commissioners did not do the appropriate oversight that they should. And I bear that just like everybody all the other county commissioners. So it wasn't a collection problem. The second part of that is, it's not broke right now, but we've got new commissioners coming on, and I'm waiting for the Attorney General to give their answer, because they may solve that problem for us by telling us what we should do. To me, it's a little premature to make that decision, because I think it's important we get all the facts in together. As I told Mr. Anderson, I was not opposed to his plan. In fact, I thought it had great merit. Because the logic of it is the tax collector, TDC has a tax collector ought to do it. But that's not the problem I have. It's the spending. We need to get a handle on the spending. We had a criminal in office. He killed himself, and he's a coward because he left his family to suffer the consequences of his actions. Anyone else?
I thank you all I thank you for your time. Please vote for me on November 6th.
We'll now move to the County Commissioner District 3 race, and our first candidate is Clint Aiden. Oh, there he is.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you to the PDCA for putting on this event. My name is Clint Aiden. I'm running for District 3 County Commission. I'm a lifelong resident of Okaloosa County. Went to Shalimar, Meigs, Choctaw, graduated there, and moved on to Sanford University in Birmingham, Alabama. Got a degree in business management and finance. Moved back home in 1994, and I opened a mortgage company there, as well as a construction development company that I still own and operate. I was an Ocean City Fire Commissioner. Now, I want to talk to you briefly about that. That is the Poquito Bayou area fire district. When I was chairman, a motion came before the board to vote for commissioner pay. I voted no, and I never took pay while I was there. I was chairman for Horizons Foundation, which is in support of Horizons of Okaloosa County, honorary commander for the 33rd Fire Wing. I'm married with 3 kids to Shannon, my lovely wife, and attend Shalimar United Methodist Church with my mother and brother. A lot of people have asked me, why am I running? Well, the answer is pretty simple. I've seen what big government can do to a small business. In 2008, Barney Frank and Chris Dodd, 2 of the biggest crooks in Washington, in my opinion, enacted the Dodd-Frank Act, which fundamentally changed the way money is loaned in this country. Lending, it came to a gridlock. It's still gripping this country today, and it started the greatest recession that our country's seen. My family and my employees suffered from this. We had to ultimately close our business. Toughest thing that I've ever had to do. There were no bailouts for us, no government handouts. I made that decision. It was very difficult. But what did we do? We didn't cry. We simply figured out a plan, pulled up our big straps. We downsized our home, downsized our other businesses, downsized our lifestyle, like many of you have had to do. Well, as we discussed, that's the same plan that I want to bring up to this county commission. Looking to reduce our budget, simplifying the budget so that you all can see where your money's being spent, and getting out and working with the top 10 departments to see where we can continue to cut costs and improve efficiencies. As for this campaign, my marketing will remain positive to the end. If you get a mail piece from me or a phone call from me, I'll own it. There'll be no anonymous phone calls, no anonymous mailers from my campaign or my supporters. I'll do as I've always done, and that is to talk about me and not my opponent. Those that choose to do otherwise are either fearful of losing or worse, have no real plan to begin with for our county. I have a plan, and I'll continue to reduce our budget, simplify that budget, and go to work to serve you. I'm asking for your support on August 14th and your vote. Please go to Elect Clint Aiden, or you can call me on my cell phone. I'll be back in the back. Remember, vote Aiden, the man with a plan to serve you. Thank you. All right, done with the speech. Any questions? Come on. Is there any plants out there that want to hit you with a negative question? No? Yes, sir.
I have a question for you. How do you feel about the fact that the property tax system that we have in this state and in most other states essentially turns property owners into renters, where the state actually owns your property?
Well, I guess that's one way to look at it, but I would say that home ownership is one of the greatest gifts that we have in this country. That's what I've worked my entire life in that industry. I understand your position. I know where you're coming from, And to a degree, it's true. But we still, our homes are our assets. We're able to use those homes to leverage, to open businesses, and to expand our wealth. So, hey, we all have to pay some degree of tax. Anything else? I see you taking notes back there. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Our next candidate is Nathan Boyles.
Thank you, Pat. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Nathan Boyles, B-O-Y-L-E-S, and I am a candidate for Okaloosa County Commission, District 3. It's great to be here with you tonight. You know, it's been over a year now since I declared my campaign for County Commission here in Okaloosa County, and it's been a fun year. I have to tell you that when I started this, there were some political insiders here in Okaloosa County who I think looked upon my campaign somewhat dismissively, but we ignored all that and we put our heads down and we went to work, and we began to build a campaign around my central message of reduced regulation here in Okaloosa County and developing a plan for the future to make Okaloosa County an even greater place to live. And I tell you what, we've really picked up a lot of momentum. I think some of those folks would be surprised to know that we've gone from maybe being somewhat of a dark horse candidate to the candidate to beat in Okaloosa County District 3 this year, and I'm very, very proud of the momentum that we've built. I am a native here to Okaloosa County. I was born and raised in Okaloosa County. I went to Baker High School up north of Crestview. That's where I met my wife, Crystal. You may have seen her here tonight. She's the tall blonde with the little baby, who you might have heard his lungs back there once or twice. His name's Bo. He's 6 months old. He's our first child, and he's one of the reasons that I'm running for County Commission here in Okaloosa County. But after I graduated high school, where Crystal and I started dating in the 10th grade, by the way, I guess that makes us high school sweethearts. Went on to school. I went to OWCC and got my AA degree. At least I still call it OWCC. I'm sure many of you do as well. From there, I went to Florida State University, and I got a degree in civil engineering. I decided that maybe being an engineer was a little bit too hard of a career path for the rest of my life, so I figured it'd be easier to go into law school, and that's what I did. I received a law degree from Florida State and came home, opened a small practice in Crestview, hung my shingle right out of law school, and that's where I've been since. I've built a nice little law practice and a small title company, several other businesses there in North Okaloosa County. We employ about a half dozen people in the economy up there, and we're proud to be a part of that community and proud to call Okaloosa County home. I have to tell you, I've never been a politician. This is my first run for office, so this is all a little bit new to me. In my race, I'm actually the only guy that's never been elected to office before. I'm okay with that. I hope that you'll be okay with that too. I genuinely believe that I have the energy, I believe I have the experience and the education that's needed to serve a leadership role in the Okaloosa County Commission and move Okaloosa County forward. And so I hope that you'll support me on August the 14th when we go to vote. With that, I'll quit talking about myself, and I'll be happy to entertain questions from the floor. No questions? No questions. Okay. We have a question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What's the main issue that you need to attack when you get in office?
You know, I'm a businessman, and I think that one of the things that we really need to focus on to kind of get our economy kick-started is reduce regulation wherever possible. I think anywhere we can remove the intrusion of government. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. Anywhere we can remove the intrusion of government into the day-to-day lives, I think that's a good thing to do. I learned quickly when I came back and opened my practice that it was amazing how much interaction I had to have with the government just to get a business open, to renovate a building and go to work. And so I would look for ways to streamline processes in Okaloosa County. That would be my number one. Number two would be transportation planning. Specifics. You mean specifics with regard to reduction in regulation in Okaloosa County? Wow, there's a ton of places to look. I think in the permitting process is a good place to take a quick look. I'll give a good example. Over at Bob Sykes Airport up in North County, we've recently completed the process of streamlining the permitting process for stormwater. And I think that you're going to see that we're going to be able to bring in job creators, big businesses, much more quickly now because that process has been done in advance. I think looking for other ways to do that throughout Okaloosa County, not just at Bob Sykes, would be one specific way that we can do that. Any other questions? Let's do this. I want to do something a little bit different. A very smart lady came up to me and she said, "We have not done the Pledge of Allegiance tonight." And I thought, you know, we should do that. So if I have enough time, and if I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, and who wants to stand with me, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Nathan. I have been looking for a way to find everybody, ask everybody to stand up. Thank you, Nathan. Our next candidate is Dennis Reeves.
Thank you, Pat. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming in. We've had so many forums. This is definitely the most we've had, and I'm excited to be here in front of you. I am a lifelong resident. I won't take a lot of time talking about myself. I have a great website you can go to and check out, LikeDennisReeves.com. But many of you know that my wife and I operate a clothing store in downtown Fort Walton Beach, and I want to talk a little bit about my business background because I'm one of the only candidates running in my race that I think the pitch is that I have taken a small 1,200 square foot clothing store that was located at Uptown Station in the last 5 years been able to grow that into a position where we have a 4,200 square foot presence in downtown Fort Walton Beach. And we're very proud of that we have been able to that we have been able to grow that business in these challenging economic times. And I think that speaks to good decision making, not only at your local store merchant level, but also at that I take that experience with me to the county commission level. I have also served as a 2-term Fort Walton Beach City Council member, where in that space I have a place and a record that I can stand on. I have never voted for a tax increase as an elected official. I think that's important that you know. A couple of the other candidates that have come forward have talked about the raising in water rates, which we've seen after candidates have gotten elected. We've seen increases in taxes after someone's got elected. I have never done that and never supported that as an elected official. I've also served on the board of directors of Okaloosa Gas, your largest enterprise fund that is owned by the citizens of Okaloosa County. That is something that we have distributed the gas to all of you at the lowest, one of the lowest rates in the state. One of the things that's come up during the campaign that's alarming to me is that we have the candidates talk about we have some of the best schools in the state. We have the lowest millage rate in the state. We have one of the lowest sales tax in the state. We have an excellent quality of life. I love Okaloosa County. I've been fortunate in Okaloosa County. But why don't we have more private industry looking to Okaloosa County? I don't think government is the answer. I've never supported a lot of government-led initiatives, but I do believe that there's a lot of growth potential in the north end of the county. And I think you need a small business owner to be able to take that to the next level. I feel that's the key to a successful community is your small business owners. But a lot of people will talk about small business. The county is not small business. It has a $282 million budget, and these county commissioners that are here tonight will tell you how difficult it is and how conscious good decisions that will ensure the future of Okaloosa County. I want to do that and make those decisions for this community, and I think I have the leadership. I've volunteered, as one of the other candidates said, for $1 a year in the city of Fort Walton Beach for the last 6 years, and I hope to get that $6 check. That'll really help me out a lot when I get off of there in November. But I'd like to say that I want to be your candidate. And I don't want to take a lot of time. And like I said, I have a great website if you want to learn more about me personally and my business. I think many of you know me and have shopped with me in my store. And like I said, you can look at electdennisreeves.com and learn more about us there. But I'd like to hear from you. Is there any questions for a candidate? I obviously serve as a council member, so I can entertain those, or anything personally about me. Well, I encourage you more to ask one another about Dennis Reeves. I have numerous customers in this group, and you can ask. I entertain anyone's question about me and my personal reputation at how I've dealt with you one-on-one or dealt with someone that you know. I have worked in the small business clothing company in this community for 25 years. I've served many of you. I've hemmed your pants and done all those types of things. Now I want to help you make bigger decisions. And I thought Felix had a question. But I just hope that you'll ask one another, because I think that's the most important thing. I'm so proud to have the honor. This campaign is winding down. I think we're all kind of glad to kind of see it come down. I didn't realize it was going to be such hard work, but I'm a pretty hard worker. Anybody ask you, Dennis Reeves is a pretty hard worker. And I will do my very best. I'm honest. I work hard, and like I said, I definitely will be accountable to you. So I appreciate the time, and I haven't had the opportunity to have 5 minutes, but I hope I used it wisely. And I need your vote on August 14th. Vote for Dennis Reeves. He can't get elected without your vote. And I definitely hope you'll consider me. Thank you all.
While Pat is having a well-deserved cookie in the back, our final candidate, Mr. Bill Smith, for this district position. I don't know if you want to use the microphone or...
I'm going to go ahead and give up on that right off the bat. Hello, my name is Bill Smith. I am your candidate for County Commissioner District 3. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. It's always a great honor to speak with voters, and thank you for caring enough about your community to be here tonight. The way I see it, or the way I'm being told as I talk to voters, there are 3 issues. 1, job for our young people, good, well-paying jobs for our young people. Number 2, holding the line on taxes without it affecting our quality of life. And number 3, protecting our senior citizens. Those are the 3 key issues as I see it. The creation of jobs, the government is really not in the business of creating jobs, but it sure can stop it and slow it down. The Bob Sykes Airport is a great example of what can be done by the county to help create jobs for our young people in this county. Number 2, I have served 2 terms on the Niceville City Council. I think the city of Niceville is a great example of how a city can improve their quality of life and not raise taxes, which we have not done. Number 3, I share a home with my 87-year-old mother. A lot of you got a mailer today in reference to that and a picture of the 2 of us together. She gives me continual guidance about the senior citizen population. I will probably get some more tonight. So I'm very concerned. One of the things we do in the city of Niceville, we offer a second homestead exemption to qualifying seniors in the city of Niceville off their homestead exemption, off their property tax. A good example of what I'm talking about. I do not own a business. I have owned businesses in the past, but right now I do not own a business. I think that's a good thing because I don't have a dog in that fight. I can make good decisions for you. What I do right now is I have been protecting and coveting your property tax for the Okaloosa County School Board for the last 20 years. And you have never seen my name in the paper. I'm the Director of Facilities for the Okaloosa County School Board. I'll be retiring from that job, and I will be your full-time county commissioner. There's no surprise. I am the oldest one in the race. Nathan usually claims to be the youngest. I am the oldest. I will be your full-time county commissioner. I'm a strong supporter of the F-35. I've had the honor of being the honorary commander of both the 33rd Tactical Fighter Wing and the 513th at Eglin Air Force Base. One of the greatest opportunities I've ever had, that and serving as the Niceville City Councilman for 2 terms. Very, very rewarding, great opportunities. If you would all please go, on all the candidates, go to their website, go to electbillsmith.com, and please cast your vote on August the 14th or Saturday or with early voting, and cast your vote for Bill Smith for County Commissioner District 3 at least by August the 14th. Thank you very much for inviting me tonight, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Okay, yes, sir. Why do I want to be a county commissioner? A very, very good question. I'm retiring from the school board. I don't really have to do this. The 7 years, be 8 next July, that I've served on the Niceville City Council, as I previously said, have been the most rewarding civic contribution I think I've ever made. Because of the retirement system, I can't stay on the Niceville City Council. So I want to continue to serve my community, the community that has served me for the last 61 years that I've lived here. It's time for me to give back. I want to give back and make this a better place for my son when he wants to bring his family here and benefit from the same things that I benefited from while the time that I've lived here. That's the best answer I can give you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Could you please speak to professionalism of the county commissioner board? Your thoughts on that?
It's about reestablishing trust. I think if you get very good, very honest people in office, and they do their diligence and keep the system to protect the taxpayers' money in place, you will build trust back in the county commission that has been lost over the last couple of years, really in all of our elected offices. And he just told me I have just a few seconds left, but that's the best I can answer I can give you. So it's about building trust and leadership. Thank you very much for having me tonight. Vote Bill Smith and all the folks. Thank you.
And our next candidate is Felix Buchenkamp.
Thank you, Pat. Good evening, everybody. My name is Felix Buchenkamp, and I'm your District 5 County Commissioner candidate. And I hope to earn your vote between now and August the 14th. First of all, I'd like to thank Pat and Bob Davis for organizing this thing, and everybody here in the community, and especially all of those who have served our country in the military forces, and more importantly, the widows here who have backed up. You know, everybody knows behind every good man is a great woman. And I've got a lot of them in my family. I'm married to Nancy for 33 years. She's the oldest of 7 women. I have 4 daughters and 3 granddaughters. So I know how to work with women, believe me. Unfortunately, only men are running for the county commission. But anyway, let me tell you a little bit about the themes of my candidacy and a little bit about myself. Leadership, advocacy, keeping the footprint of government the same, efficiency through technology, and planning for the future. Those are the themes of my campaign. I have been blessed with a great education. My mother, who's sitting in this crowd, and I'll identify her here if I have a little time, a little bit later, and my father believed in education. They're immigrants from the Netherlands, or a Dutch name, Buchenkamp in Dutch, if you can pronounce it. I went to Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, to have a degree in economics, undergraduate degree. Believe it or not, I was a recruited athlete there. I was a rower, sat in a boat and went backwards for a long time. I went to graduate school in Washington University in St. Louis and have a degree, a master's degree in business administration with a concentration in finance and accounting. So I'm comfortable with numbers. The budget actually this year is $247 million, 800 employees, 1 county manager. I will work hard to spend your money or not spend your money, ideally, and reduce your budget. We don't have a collection problem in this county. We have a spending problem in this county, clearly, and we need strong leadership, and I intend to provide you with that strong leadership. My business experience as a builder and developer has contributed over $100 million to this economy in the last 28 years that I've lived here. I've been here since 1984. I'm a builder and developer, and that's why I'm running. I've got lots of time on my hand. Guess what? Construction industry is in the tank. I've got lots of energy. I got a little bit left to give to you, and I'd like to be your county commissioner. I have also been, and if you look at this card, you'll read all about the community volunteering that I have done. Everything I have done in this community has been to contribute to the betterment of this community, not for my own self-service. Habitat for Humanity, Mental Health Association, Community Development Corporation, Workforce Development Board, which is Jobs Plus. I'm your planning commissioner, and I'm your vice chairman of the planning commission, District 5, have been for 6 years. And I've probably done a few other boards. I've been on the licensing board and so on. So this is why I want to be your county commission. I am not a single issue candidate, and I am not a single, I'm from Niceville, I am not a single community candidate. I've worked in 7 of the 9 municipalities in this county. The only 2 municipalities I haven't bought a building permit in are Mary Esther and Laurel Hill, and they're on my target. I plan to be up there one day or another. So I have developed land in all these communities and built there as well. I believe in looking forward. I'm a planning commissioner, so I believe in good planning. It's something that we need to do more of in our county commission. I plan to work with people like Wayne Harris and the other commissioners to plan instead of react to all these crises that we've had. In construction, you know, you work with about 25 subcontractors and about 30 or 40 suppliers. It's a team. I know how to work with a team, and that's what I intend to do on this board of county commissioners. By the way, I've also been a member of the board of directors of the Home Builders Association. It's called the Building Industry Association right now. I'm a life director. I won't bore you with all the details. I've been a leader in that organization, past president, and I've led delegations to Tallahassee for 25 straight years to lobby for home builder issues. I will be very comfortable doing the same for you as your county commissioner to lead our county and protect our interests, whether it's in Tallahassee, Washington, D.C., or now. By the way, Washington, D.C. is my hometown. I'm not afraid of walking in those halls. I've done it. I know how to do it. Reducing the budget, I think, is our target. I think there's 5 or 10% there. How would I do that? People like Pat Holloran, who have worked for the Institute for Senior Professionals, have done a survey of the county. They did one 2 years ago at the request of our fine county administrator, Mr. Curry. They came up with $10 million worth of savings. Just asking. I got 30 seconds. I'm going to move fast. We're going to have a new county commissioner, or a new county administrator within 1 year. Mr. Curry's going to retire. He's going to announce it at the new board meeting. Hopefully I'll be on that board. That'll be our biggest task in the next year, is to hire that new administrator. 2 new county commissioners, 1 new administrator, 3 out of 6 leaders will have new. Let's look towards the future. Let's plan for the future. Let's be positive and make this the best county possible. Vote Felix Buchenkamp on August, or before August 14th. Thank you very much.
Our next candidate in this race is Joe Fagundes.
I'm going to try this to start with, and when it starts acting up, I'll put it down. I am Joe Fagundes. I'm your candidate for District 5 County Commissioner. Moved down here in 2006 with my family. I've had businesses in the area since 1998. I bring a couple of different skill sets, unique skill sets to this race. One is I'm active in DMV contract management. I actually provide services on both Eglin and Hurlburt inside the fence. I'm also the only candidate with an active engaged business in our race in Crestview, so I understand the North End County's concerns also. I also have a business that operates exclusively for tourism, so I'm very familiar with the tourism and things that the TDC can do and those types of things. But I want to talk to you a little bit about my community service real quick. Now, we just moved here in 2006. It brought us down here because for the 2 years prior to that, I was I was providing FEMA, the Coast Guard, Florida National Guard vehicles for all the hurricane problems that we had. The Red Cross from Ivan and then from Katrina, actually, out of Pensacola. Got my family to move down here. We were spending a lot of time apart. But before we moved down here, we had always, everything that we had done was about kids. And I have a 15-year-old daughter who's a sophomore at Niceville High School. I have an 8-year-old son who's at Blue Water Elementary. And I'm watching what's going on in this county, and it's driving me crazy because you people in this room paid dearly for a long time and have paid money in for a long time. And we pay our taxes, and we, as young professionals in this area, and we're watching it being wasted. And I've got a problem with that fundamentally, principle-wise, the whole 9 yards. I think we can do better. We talked about, you heard something about the footprint of government, keeping it the same. I want the foot off of our backs. I want a smaller footprint of government in this county. Heard a little bit about the TDC earlier. That was the latest scandal. You know, I've got a solution. We got 2 county departments that want to fight over it. Hey, let's let them bid it out. Whoever does it for the cheapest for the Okaloosa County taxpayer, they can collect the tax. It's a simple solution. It's a business solution. I will bring common sense business solutions to this. It's not about what it's for me. It's not about empire building within county departments. It is about you and me and our kids and what we're doing going forward. And that's what this is about. It's about principles. It's about making government smaller, more efficient. We all have a great quality of life. Gosh, what great school systems we have. We're active members of the Niceville United Methodist Church. You know, what a great church community we have. We live in a very giving community. I want to give back to that community more than I do now. I'm a member of the All Sports Association. I'm this year's President's Award winner. I participated in Niceville High School in their technology campaign. I actually donated one of the vehicles for them to raise money for them. I want to make a difference in the community. Those are just 2 of the things I do. I'm also president of the Honorary Commander Association for the 53rd Wing out at Eglin. So I'm active, I'm involved, I'm engaged. And if you can't tell, I'm passionate. And we need people that are passionate, come in and serve and get out. I'm all for term limits. If y'all see any of this or got my mailer, you'll see that I'm for that. I got a phone call from the city county commissioner yesterday. He said, you can't do term limits. You'd have to change the Constitution or look at a charter of government. I said, you're right, but there's more people willing to look at that and make those changes now. We don't have to do business as usual in this county. And I think everybody sitting in this room, or for the most part, and everybody that I've knocked on doors, and a lot of you have these hanging on your doors if you live in Poquito Bayou, and in all other parts of the county, are saying the same thing. And that's why I want to be your candidate. I want to be your commissioner for District 5. It's a universal election. I'll represent the whole county, and I'll do a good job of it. Are there any questions?
Save you some time, Pat.
All right, thank you very much. I hope you'll vote for Joe on August 14th. I'm going to try to speed this thing up for you. Thank you.
All the years we've done this, I've never seen a crowd that didn't have more questions. Okay, our next candidate is Larry Hines.
Thank you. I'm Larry Hines for County Commissioner District 5. Is it coming through? Okay. There we go. I'm extremely proud to be addressing you tonight because I'm an Air Force, 20-year Air Force veteran. A 20-year Air Force veteran, and it's kind of been like a squadron reunion here. It's been like a squadron reunion, meeting friends, old friends and new friends. When I was graduating from college in 1967, I was an engineer, and I told my boss that I was going to join the Air Force. And he said, Larry, we can get you a drafted post. You don't have to join the Air Force. There were people in the streets demonstrating, people going to Canada. I said, no, I'm going to serve my country. And I joined the Air Force. Now, to be honest, my plan was to spend 5 years as an engineer. And all you military veterans know, you don't raise your hand and volunteer in the Air Force. That just gets you into more trouble. So they said, Larry, would you like to go to pilot training? I raised my hand. They sent me to pilot training. Graduated. They said, would you like to fly the F-4? That was the hottest fighter in the world. I raised my hand. Yeah, I'll take the F-4. Finished the F-4. They said, do you want to go to Vietnam? Raised my hand. I'm going to go to Vietnam. I went to Vietnam to 184 missions, and I can tell you that's the most rewarding experience of my life. When you're a fighter pilot, I was taught two things, and these two things will stick with you forever. Everybody here needs to know what they are. One is leadership, and that's probably not a surprise. The other is how to be a good follower. You got to have both those characteristics if you're going to be a good government official. Why am I running? I think our citizens really don't trust government anymore. We need character and trustworthiness in our elected officials. We need people that have a career background of trust and making the right, good decisions. In our community, 50% of the jobs are military related. And that's extremely important. Now, a lot of you are retired. I'm retired. But your sons and daughters work, and that helps our economy. And your grandsons and granddaughters are here, and they're going to be working. They need a job too. So if I'm your county commissioner, I'm going to spend a lot of time using my military background out there talking to the base commanders, the general officers, to try to make sure that we keep all those jobs here in our local area. It's crucial. Now, we have thousands of retirees. Again, I'm a military retiree. We need the services that provides us. Commissary, BX, legal services, and medical services. We all know when we get a little bit old, and I'm the oldest candidate in our race, that your health's more important than anything. So having a hospital around is important. I said I was retired. If I'm elected your county commissioner, I'll be a full-time county commissioner. I would not have run for this job if I couldn't be full-time. My other opponents all have private businesses. They're going to be juggling. What do they do? Take care of their business or take care of some county business? I think we've had enough instances in the last couple of years in our county where we need the commissioners to be spending all their time looking and watching and seeing what's happening. With respect to trust, I don't take campaign contributions from businesses that have contracts with the county. That's legal. I think it's poor judgment, and I think you're automatically setting yourself up for criticism if that business comes before the commission and there's a voter or something that has to be decided. I think it's bad judgment. So I'm going to try to rebuild character and trust if I'm elected. I've never been sued. I've never sued anybody else. I jokingly tell people that I got my driver's license when I was 16 years old in 1960. And I've had one traffic ticket, and that was when I was 22 years old. I obey the law, and I've got a perfect record. And I'll be a full-time county commissioner. I don't know how much time I've got, but I'll be glad to take the question. 30 seconds. Covered everything perfectly? Want to hear a quick war story?
There I was.
I can't tell 1 in 30 seconds. I'd be a liar. Thank you very much. Larry Hines.
I'm trying this one. Well, that sounds pretty good. Okay, our next candidate in this race is Kelly Wines.
Thank you, Pat. My pleasure to be here this evening. Thanks for putting this on. I am Kelly Wines. I'm native to the area. I graduated Choctawhatchee High School and went on to Okaloosa Walton Junior College. I'm a third-generation boat captain and businessman in Destin, ex-Navy enlisted man, served aboard a destroyer. I'm married to Mary Ann Smith Wines. I've been married to her for 27 years. We have 2 kids, Trey, who's a charter boat captain, and Melissa, who is a real estate agent. Imagine that. We are involved in several area businesses, primarily the real estate business, the marina business, and the charter boat business. I'm the only candidate who has completed a term on the city council, being the Destin City Council. To me, this election is about common sense, good judgment, honesty and integrity, work ethic, and leadership. Leadership, to me, is about not assuming anything, no rubber stamping issues because staff okays it, answering to no one but the voters, being a good steward of other people's money. I will have a no compromise stance on public safety. I will work to live within our means. I support term limits. I am partners with approximately 150 partners in Okaloosa County in businesses that promote and protect an industry, our boat business, the Fisherman's Co-op and the Destin Fishing Fleet Marina. These businesses, my wife manages one of them and the other one is managed by another team, but they kind of self-perpetuate. Sustaining these long-term successful businesses with this many faithful partners takes a certain quality. You got to have leadership, judgment, and trust. These qualities, to me, are common denominators with what's necessary to be a good county commissioner. My campaign promise to you is to be honest, bring my work ethic. I've been at the top of my profession for 40 years in Destin in the charter boat business. I'll bring my experience and longevity to the workplace. I'll do my very best. I've been fairly self-reliant in my business career. I haven't asked anyone for a job in 41 years. I've been in business for myself. I will be asking you for a job on August the 14th. I'll be asking for your vote. I'm Kelly Wines. Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to put a little different spin on it if you'll permit me. I can either tell you a story, not a fish story, or we can answer questions. And I'll wait around till after this if anybody will let me tell this story. So, this is about probably the most important aspect of being a commissioner, is being a good steward of other people's money. In 1970, I decided to build my first charter boat. I just got out of the Navy, and my mother heard about it, and she said, come on out and sit in front of the fireplace, we're going to talk. If mother calls to sit in front of the fireplace, you're either going to get your mouth washed out with soap, you're going to go to the woodshed, or you might have a good talk about something. And I was lucky, it was the latter. She said, have you got enough money? I said, well, I'm okay. But you can't fool your mama. She said, well, I got something for you. She went in the back and got a box, a bread box. Had $2,000 in it. Ones, fives, and tens. I said, Mother, how'd you get this money? She said, well, I retired from the Okaloosa school system, but before that, I sold apple pies and pumpkin pies at the truck stop on my way to work, which was babysitter at Jack Tar Beach House about a mile away. She said, I sold the pies on the way up there and threw the Coke bottles from the north side over to the south side and picked them up on the way home. Kelly, we got 2 cents a piece for those Coke bottles, you know. That money was a lot of money at my house in 1970. And she looked me in the eye and said, take care of it and make it count. I told her when I left, I said, Mother, thank you. I love you. I'm proud of you. Lock your doors. Thanks for listening. And I hope everybody will get out and vote, because you know what the forefathers said, we're not governed by the majority of our citizens. We're governed by the majority of our citizens that participate. So let's go get it done. Thank you.